The San Antonio Spurs are about to enter preseason, and while most fans are going to be watching Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle in the established rotation, I'm going to tell you right now, some of the most important minutes of the entire preseason could belong to three rookies: Tarris Reed Jr, Maliq Brown, and Ja'Kobi Gillespie. Because Summer League was the introduction, preseason, that's the audition. This is where the competition gets bigger. This is where the game gets faster. This is where you're no longer playing almost exclusively against rookies, G League players, and guys fighting just to make a roster. Now you're getting minutes against legitimate NBA rotation players. And the Spurs coaching staff isn't going to be asking whether these rookies can put up 20 points. They're going to be asking a much more important question. Can we trust you? Can Tarris Reed survive meaningful minutes behind Victor Wembanyama? Can Maliq Brown become the defensive chess piece this roster might eventually need? Can Ja'Kobi Gillespie run an NBA offense without letting his size become something opponents can exploit? Because San Antonio didn't draft these guys just to win Summer League. They drafted them hoping they could eventually help win real ones. And over 5 preseason games, we're going to start getting some answers. Let's talk about exactly what the Spurs coaching staff should be watching. Preseason is a completely different test. First, we have to understand why preseason matters so much for this particular group. San Antonio opens against Atlanta on October 8th, travels to Phoenix on October 10th, and Utah on October 12th, then returns home for Phoenix on October 14th and Sacramento on October 16th. And I don't care what the scoreboard says, if the Spurs go 5-0, cool. If they go 0-5, I'm not losing sleep. The important part is what happens inside those games. Because for Reed, Brown, and Gillespie, preseason is going to reveal whether the things they did during Summer League translate when the physicality, speed, and decision-making all jump another level. During Summer League, assistant coach Corliss Williamson talked about the importance of rookies learning San Antonio's offensive and defensive principles and becoming comfortable with the way the Spurs want to play. Now they're going to be asked to execute those concepts beside actual NBA veterans. That's different. If you're Gillespie, you're not just throwing an entry pass to another Summer League player, you could be initiating offense with established San Antonio rotation players. If you're Brown, you're not switching onto another rookie wing. You could be asked to survive defensively against an NBA starter. And if you're Reed, you're going to discover very quickly that NBA centers don't care what you did in college. That's why this preseason is going to be fascinating. Tarris Reed Jr. Can his physicality translate immediately? Let's start with Tarris Reed Jr. Because of these three players, I think Reed has the clearest path toward getting legitimate NBA minutes sooner rather than later. And the reason is simple. He already understands what his role needs to be. Reed doesn't need 15 shots. He doesn't need plays called for him. He doesn't need to prove he's some offensive unicorn. He needs to rebound, screen, defend, run the floor, protect the paint, finish around the basket, and punish people physically. That is exactly what the Spurs coaching staff should be evaluating. Reed showed those qualities during Summer League. Against Atlanta, for example, he produced 14 points and 10 rebounds in only 21 minutes. More importantly, Williamson specifically said San Antonio wanted Reed bringing physicality, energy, and effort in short bursts, potentially giving the team everything he has for 2, 3, or 5 minutes at a time. That is the blueprint. The first test, screening. Watch Reed's screening during preseason. I'm serious. Don't just watch the dunks. Don't just watch the rebounds. Watch whether he creates advantages for San Antonio's guards. Can he make legitimate contact without committing an offensive foul? Can he rescreen? Can he flip the angle? Can he immediately roll hard toward the rim? Can he recognize when the guard needs space? Because if Reed can become a devastating screener, suddenly he has value even without touching the basketball. Imagine a second unit where Reed comes in and sets punishing screens for one of San Antonio's guards. Now you're forcing defenders through contact. You're creating switches. You're getting defenders trailing plays. That's winning basketball. The second test, defensive positioning. The coaching staff also needs to see how Reed handles NBA pick-and-roll defense. This might be the biggest thing. Summer League defense can become chaotic. NBA offense is different. Veteran guards are going to manipulate him, they're going to change speeds, they're going to reject screens, they're going to use hesitation. They're going to force Reed to make decisions. Does he drop? Does he show? Does he switch? Does he recover? Can he defend without constantly fouling? That's where we'll learn whether Reed is ready. And then there's rebounding. Reed finished his Vegas Summer League run averaging 8.7 rebounds in 23.1 minutes per game. That's exactly the mentality San Antonio needs him to maintain, because when Reed enters the game, I want him attacking every missed shot like it belongs to him. Williamson even highlighted offensive rebounding and physicality as ways Reed can impact games when he's sharing the floor with higher usage players such as Wembanyama. That's Reed's opportunity. He doesn't need touches, he needs possessions, create extra possessions, and defensive possessions, make opponents feel him. If he does that consistently during preseason, he's going to make it difficult for the coaching staff to ignore him.
Can he become the Spurs' defensive Swiss Army knife? Now, Maliq Brown is completely different, because with Brown, the box score might lie to you. You might watch a game where Brown scores 4 points and think, didn't do much tonight. Then you look closer. 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, a block, multiple deflections, changed 3 possessions that never appear in the traditional stat sheet. Brown actually had that type of summer league performance against Milwaukee, finishing with 4 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and a block. That's Maliq Brown basketball, and that's exactly what I'm watching during preseason. Can he guard multiple positions? Brown's defensive versatility is probably his biggest argument for eventually earning minutes. During his summer league debut, he already showed San Antonio the ability to toggle between forward and center responsibilities. Now, I want to see that against NBA players. Put him on a wing, switch him onto a guard, let him defend a power forward, let him play some small ball 5, see what happens. Because imagine the possibilities if Brown can become a legitimate switchable defender beside Wembanyama. That's where this gets interesting. Wemby behind the play, Brown at the point of attack, Castle somewhere nearby. Now you're creating lineups filled with length, activity, and disruption. But Brown has to prove he can defend without becoming reckless. That's the next step. Defensive discipline. Young defenders love steals, and Brown is excellent at creating turnovers. But NBA players understand how to use aggression against you. They're going to see Brown reaching. They're going to bait him, they're going to back cut him, they're going to pump fake him. So the coaching staff should be watching, can he remain aggressive while staying disciplined? Can he stay vertical? Can he keep his hands active without fouling? Can he switch without losing communication? Can he rotate correctly when Wembanyama leaves the paint to challenge a shot? Those are the details that turn a defensive prospect into an NBA defender. What about the three-point shot? And offensively, this might be the swing skill. Brown hit 2 three-pointers in his first summer league game, something notable because perimeter shooting was not considered the defining feature of his college game. I'm not expecting him to suddenly become Kevin Durant, that's not the point. I want to see whether defenses respect him. Because if Brown can stand in the corner and hit enough open threes to force somebody to guard him, everything changes. Now he doesn't destroy your spacing. Now he can play beside another big. Now cutters have room. Now Wembanyama has space. If Brown shoots confidently during preseason, even if every shot doesn't fall, that's progress. Do not hesitate. Catch, shoot, live with the result. Can he run the team? And then we get to Gillespie. This might be the most interesting evaluation of the three, because Gillespie has a very specific challenge. He's a smaller guard entering a league that is getting bigger, longer, and more switchable every year. So Gillespie has to prove his skill level and basketball intelligence are good enough to overcome the physical disadvantage. And Summer League showed both sides. In his debut, Gillespie struggled badly shooting the basketball, going 3 for 17, but he still produced 8 assists and 3 steals. Later, the scoring started coming. Against Utah, Gillespie exploded for 25 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals. That's encouraging, but preseason isn't about proving he can score 25.
I want to see whether he can control an NBA game. Can he make the correct read? When Gillespie comes off a ball screen, what happens? Does he recognize the coverage? If they blitz him, does he move the basketball immediately? If the big drops, can he get downhill? If the defender goes under, can he punish them with the jumper? If the low man rotates, can Gillespie find the corner? That's NBA point guard basketball. The Spurs don't need him dribbling the air out of the basketball. They need decisions, fast decisions, good decisions. Turnovers matter. This is another major area. Coaches can live with missed shots. They can live with a rookie getting scored on occasionally. What gets young point guards removed from games is careless turnovers, especially turnovers that lead directly to transition. If Gillespie wants coaches to trust him, he has to take care of the basketball. Don't force the highlight pass. Don't dribble into traffic with nowhere to go. Don't leave your feet without knowing where you're passing. Run the offense. Get San Antonio into sets. Move the basketball. Then attack when the opportunity appears. That's maturity. Defense will determine everything. And defensively, Gillespie has to be a pest. At his size, passive defense isn't an option. He has to pressure the basketball, pick guys up, fight through screens, use his hands, create turnovers, make opposing guards uncomfortable. Gillespie has already shown that mentality. Even when his shot wasn't falling in his Summer League debut, he still generated 3 steals. That's important, because effort travels. Your jumper might disappear one night. Defensive intensity can't. And the biggest thing, how do they look with the veterans? And here's the evaluation I care most about. How do these rookies look when they're playing with San Antonio's real rotational players? Because that changes everything. Can Reed play 5 minutes without the Spurs needing to change their entire offense? Can Brown defend multiple positions while staying out of everyone else's way offensively? Can Gillespie organize a lineup containing established NBA players? That's the ultimate test. The best rookies aren't always the guys who dominate the basketball. Sometimes they're the players who make you forget they're rookies. They're in the correct position, they make the extra pass, they rotate defensively, they set the screen, they sprint back, they box out, they don't make the same mistake twice. That is what Mitch Johnson and his staff should be looking for. Not highlights, trust. Don't overreact to the numbers. And Spurs fans, this is important. Don't overreact if one of these guys has a bad preseason game. Gillespie might go 2 for 9. Brown might score 2 points. Reed might get into foul trouble. They're rookies. It's gonna happen. The Spurs Summer League staff made the same point earlier this summer. Rough stretches are part of the process, and what matters is whether young players compete, accept coaching, and adjust. So instead of asking, how many points did he score? Ask, did Reed rebound? Did Brown defend? Did Gillespie make good decisions? Did they understand their assignments? Did they improve from Game 1 to Game 5? That's what matters. Because when preseason begins, Victor Wembanyama isn't trying to prove he belongs in the NBA. Neither are San Antonio's established players. But Tarris Reed Jr., Maliq Brown, and Ja'Kobi Gillespie, they're beginning a different journey. Every possession matters. Every defensive rotation matters. Every screen matters. Every decision matters. For Reed, the message is simple. Be physical, rebound everything, screen hard, defend without fouling. For Brown, defend everybody, make quick decisions, rebound, hit the open shot when it's there. And for Gillespie, control the offense, take care of the basketball, defend like your minutes depend on it, because they probably do. The preseason might not count in the standings, but don't tell these 3 rookies these games don't count, because for them, they absolutely do. And by the time San Antonio finishes that final preseason game against Sacramento, we might have a much better idea which one of these young players is closest to forcing his way into the Spurs' plans. So now I want to hear from you. Which rookie are you watching the closest this preseason? Tarris Reed Jr., Maliq Brown, or Ja'Kobi Gillespie? And more importantly, which one do you believe can actually earn meaningful minutes for the Spurs this season? Drop your answer in the comments. If you're enjoying the Spurs coverage, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because we're going to be breaking down everything leading into the new season. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.